Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. I'm your host, Viz, and tonight we have a special guest, our executive producer, and my brother, Marko. How you doing, Marko?
Hey everybody, how is everyone tonight doing?
I'm sure everyone is fine. We got Colette joining us on Facebook. Welcome to all you guys. Thank you for tuning in. As always, if you want to be a part of our live audience and want more information about our show, please visit us at deadtalklive.com. This show streams Monday through Friday on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. We have a lot to talk about tonight, but I do got to make an announcement first. Xander Berkeley will not be joining us tomorrow because of a scheduling issue with work. He will be joining us at a later date. So he will be joining us, just not tomorrow. So I want to let everybody know he will be coming on at a later date. So just want to, let everybody know that information. Tonight we're going to be reviewing the latest Fear the Walking Dead episode, and damn, I mean, it reminded me something straight out of Hostel. That
Yes.
that that room where they do the embalming, and Teddy makes Virginia look like Santa Claus.
Yes.
I mean, we only seen him for maybe 5 minutes of screen time, but you know how I always say Virginia showed the fear in her eyes, and you knew that she was always afraid and always put up a front and an act. But this guy Teddy, he is definitely way off the bend. What do you? First of all, it's the actor's name is
John Glover.
John
Yeah,
Glover.
very, very well-known actor. He had a long stretch on Smallville where he played Lionel Luthor. Incredible. Perfect casting for this role because physically and he's physically non-threatening, but just the mind psyche and how he works and how he thinks is very threatening. So that's a really great kind of casting on the producer's side of the show. Yeah, he's gonna be a force to reckon with, and it was very good, like how you mentioned about Hostel. I was kind of thinking about Day of the Dead. Remember, this was shot in an underground parking lot, so that's where they took refuge, which kind of reminded me of how Day of the Dead was filmed underneath the caves and underneath the mine. So that was very good, and it was yeah, it's going to be a great couple of episodes coming up just to see where this storyline with Teddy go. Obviously, he has a physical connection and an emotional connection with Alicia,
Hmm.
so that's going to be great to see the two of them kind of bounce off each other because she's been kind of in the back burner this season, and I'm so glad to see her kind of come back on again because she's the mother of the show. She's there since day one, and it's finally good that the show is actually bringing her character back to recognition and kind of seeing her how she's gonna react with this new group. So yeah, it's gonna be very exciting. It was a good episode. It was very mind bending, which was great about it.
It was, and I made a comment when we did the last episode review of Fear the Walking Dead, how Alicia was really a backseat player, and
Right.
the reason is they've been holding her back for this storyline. They've been building this storyline up now for 11 episodes. From the season premiere, we got to see the spray, paint people. The end is the beginning, and we were clueless. Now, obviously, why they're interested in Morgan, uh, CC Weezy had a very interesting, and I think is completely accurate. They want Morgan for that key,
Right.
and we still don't know what that key is. But
Well, I don't want to sound like a spoiler. I was reading an article prior to it coming on the air. There is, from what I understand, that group is planning a nuclear attack on the above ground. That's
oh,
why they're very interested in the CRM. That's why they're very interested in the helicopter. Uh, from what I believe is that they're launching some kind of attack where they want to destroy the Earth above and kind of start from below. That's why they mentioned that they want to close the doors for good
that makes
because they're planning something a little
sense.
bigger.
That makes it because I'm asking myself, okay, this is so unrealistic. They want to destroy life above. How are they going to do that? I mean, they're in Texas. They
Mhm.
have no power to like destroy life in the other continents. And I'm like, how is that going to work? That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
They want nuclear access. And
Yep.
wow, I that never even crossed my sphere of thinking, but it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. Uh,
Yeah.
they want the nuclear key. They want to nuke the world.
Yeah.
Talk.
That's what that key is, and Morgan doesn't know what that is, so he's walking around with the fate of the world around his neck, and he has no idea that that's the connection. That's the connection between Morgan and between this group. They want that key, and once they get that key, then. But I don't think that Morgan knows what that is. I still think
No,
that they have no idea what that is.
no, he
So that's
doesn't. He doesn't have an idea. Trust me. I mean, he just thinks it's a key. I think he's wearing it around his neck.
right, right,
And that leads to questions in that building in Dallas, supposedly, that they're hiding underground. Is that doesn't look like a regular parking garage that they took refuge in? Is it
right.
a bunker?
That's true. We don't know yet.
Is it a
It definitely has elevator access. It definitely has a space to be a parking lot, but it's a parking lot of what? Is it a hospital parking lot? Is it a
yeah?
warehouse parking lot? It could be anything. That's what makes it. We won't know. So that's another part of the beauty about the show. You know, it's always leaving us for a mystery. We probably won't find that out until closer to the finale and then towards the end of season 6. I think that's where that'll get revealed.
I think this. Do you think it's a story that's going to drag on into season 7?
I think so. I
Yeah,
think
me
what they
too.
did is, and going back again to Virginia, I think the producers didn't want to drag on Virginia's story and do a redeemable character like they did with Negan because they're like, we did it on one show.
Yeah,
Let's not do it on this show. And I think Virginia's arc kind of came to that end.
yeah,
And June was a perfect character to kind of put her down because from day one, June was the only one that saw a glimmer of hope in Virginia. And the fact that Virginia let her down and the fact that she got John killed, she was the only person that I feel that had to put her down.
yeah.
And it was a great episode last week. I know we talked about it last week, but it was a great episode. All performances all around was amazing. And yeah, I think her arc was done. I think Virginia was pretty much good to go. And now we have a bigger threat to deal with. And that's why I think Virginia was scared. I think she knew what this group was capable of. That's why she tried so hard to protect everybody. But apparently it got in her way.
Wow, wow. I mean, that just puts a complete different light on everything. And John Glover was amazing. Alicia, and then Wes finding out his brother is still alive and having to kill him in the same episode.
Yeah.
Uh, that was just mind numbing right there. First of
Yeah.
all, when I was watching that scene between Wes and his brother, and this guy is obviously brainwashed by Teddy, right? The
Hmm.
way that Wes was able to persuade him so quickly, I'm like, wait, hold up. Something's not right.
Yeah.
Okay. So when they were in that elevator and Alicia was giving him that look that, what's in the bag? Why is this so easy so far? She knew
Right.
something was off.
Yeah.
He set him up.
Yeah.
He set him up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think of Riley, played by Nick Stahl, who's I'm glad he's back to work. Last time I saw him was in Terminator 3, and he did a couple of work here and there, but he's a great casting to play this role.
He is. He's a great he's a great, I guess you would call him a sidekick to Teddy and all that.
Muscle. He's the
But
muscle. Yeah.
yeah, but that zombie to the tree, they're asking everybody, do you see it? And I'm like trying to take their point of view, and I'm looking at this thing. All I see is a dead person tied to a tree with vines growing up around him. But it just goes to show you the power that Teddy has into manipulation.
See, I saw a little differently. I saw life. That's what I saw.
And that's what I think Teddy wants them to see,
Right.
that out of death, and we heard it throughout the whole episode
Yeah.
yesterday, that out of death, life springs eternal.
Right.
And
That's what I think everybody was supposed to see. But the group was so focused on they're so used to seeing the walkers and the way they were so horrible and how destruction and what chaos they caused. They only saw them as death. They didn't see them as life. And even in the beginning of the episode when Riley said that, the body decays in a couple of months and then they feed the skin to the chickens and Alicia was like, well, is that safe? And he goes, well, that's been the beginning of time. That's
yeah,
what happens. People die, they bury. Nature takes its course, and with death grows life. And I think that's what the metaphor of that tree was. But they didn't see it that way because they're so used to seeing the walkers, or the word they called them as posters, which
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
know what that means. They are going to let us know, and that's a great comment. Like, what? I mean, I know what
compost, maybe. I don't know. I'm like,
yeah,
no idea.
I
Yeah,
yeah. So that's going to be something that I want to find out, because it's great how every group has a great little catchphrase for what we call the walkers and the zombies, and I think it's great that they come up. That's a new one. I never heard that one before, so I'm really looking forward to finding out to see what their version of a poster is. But I think that's what the tree. I think that's what they meant by that. I saw it as life remerging again, and the walker was, I think, like a significance of death, and from death comes life. Because a tree to me shows life. It lives on its own. It gives us oxygen. It gives us sunlight, and I think that's what that meant.
yeah.
But they were seeing it, and that's where the whole confusion was. It was great. It was a great episode. It was a good little, kind of backhand metaphor that I thought was perfect for the show. Yeah, for that episode.
This season of Fear so far, we're used, over a decade now of the Walking Dead universe. Of course, every premiere, every finale is the big delivery, what they've been winding up to. So we got the finale, which was actually the mid-season premiere. Then we got episode 9, which should have been the premiere. So I expected the last 2 episodes to go back into a build-up mode. It has not let its foot off the gas.
No.
Each episode seems to be getting better than the prior one.
Yeah. And what they're also doing, which I like, is that they're giving each of the characters a great story arc separately. They're not putting people on the back burner. They're showing us what's going on with Grace and with Morgan and with Sarah. And so it's great that they're everybody has a part. Except for Wendell. We haven't seen Wendell yet.
No.
He's somewhere.
Yeah, he's alive. He's somewhere.
He'll pop up, yeah.
And it's with that whole nuclear theory, it's going to be really interesting to play out, because once Morgan and the rest of the groups actually do find out what those underground people are trying to do, it's going to take everybody to a whole new level.
Right.
They are literally trying to extinguish all life on the surface of the planet and rebuild
Which, again,
from below.
It's such a shame, because it just shows that humanity still is greedy and they still want to get on top. I mean, you're dealing with a worldwide zombie apocalypse, a disease that wiped out 80% of the world, and yet people who are surviving are still trying to get at each other.
Yeah.
It's just weird. And it's funny because I was watching Independence Day earlier. It was on HBO, and it's the same concept. Aliens are attacking your planet, but yet that movie was so great because it united everybody, because there's a greater threat than your neighbor now. Now you have something that's a complete different force trying to eliminate you, and it just shows how humanity still kind of always wants to get on top, always wants to be better than everyone, always wants to self-destruct and hurt and kill, and it's still happening. And that's why I think another reason why the Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead is so good is because it still shows how humanity breaks down and how evil they can still be without not having any government to control over them.
And I'm sure every fan who watches any of these 3 shows has, at least it's crossed my mind, why not find a way to nuke the planet and start over? Never did in my wildest dreams did I actually think the writers would have come up with a plausible scenario to make that happen. And it's just crazy. And that also leads to the question, what was Teddy doing before the apocalypse? What's your theory on what he was doing? Was he a scientist?
I think he was a scientist. I think he really was a scientist. I think he could have been a biochemist. He could have been a geologist, something to do with it. And it always takes one person to kind of, I don't want to say the word manipulate, but let's use brainwashing, since you used it earlier, to kind of take a group of people and make them believe that there's something better out there. And it happened through all the shows. It happened with Negan. It happened with Alpha. It happened with Virginia. It takes that one person to kind of bring a group together and make, humanity, when humanity loses their hope and they lose their sense of like, I have nowhere to go, you're looking for someone to guide you in the right place. Yeah. That's where it's happening with Teddy. I think Teddy's that character.
It makes people that easier to brainwash.
Yeah, he's going to be I would say villain. He's going to be our villain in the show coming up, but let's just see where he goes. He might be more evil than everybody we put together because he wants to. Remember, this man wants to destroy
everything.
The living world. No one's gotten that far.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, yeah, we've seen everybody throughout, 10 plus years who has their own idea of how life is going to restart. We have seen it throughout a decade now, The governor had his plans, Negan had his plans, Alpha thought the world belonged to the dead now, that's it. We serve them, they don't serve us. And now this guy is like, he was probably like, the way I envisioned Teddy before the apocalypse, he was this probably mad but brilliant scientist, maybe a nuclear scientist or whatever. And I always say the apocalypse is the thriving ground for psychopaths and crazy people. It's their playground. They have no rules to play by anymore. They can do whatever they want. And that's why evil people like him and the governor and Negan, when we met him in season 6, 7, and 8, it's their playground, and they can do what they want. There's nobody really to hold them accountable, and that's where we have the protagonists come in, like the Rick Grimes, even though he has done some pretty shitty stuff as well. They've all done bad stuff. There is no good or bad. But Morgan is legitimately just trying to keep his friends alive and just trying to give them a safe place to live out their life and possibly start something where they are at. And I got to give credit. Lenny James has been absolutely fabulous this year.
Yeah.
I mean, Lenny James just stands out so much. Let's go back a couple of episodes. How did you feel about John Dory being killed, Garrett Dillahunt leaving the show?
I thought it was a wonderful, poignant story to his death. I found it justifiable in a way. I was not expecting it to be Dakota. That was a shock to me. But that was also not a surprise for me as well. That scene when he washes up on the banks of the river and June thinks he's alive and she runs up to see him, and then we kind of see a glimpse of him turning and just the expression on her face. I think that was it was just a beautiful death. And then once she puts the knife in his head and she brushes his hair aside and kind of acknowledges that the fact that, he's gone and so forth. It was bad. And Garrett Dillahunt is such a great, he was such a great actor in that role, just very loving and he has such an incredible body of work that
he has a movie coming out here soon.
He does, yeah. He's had his finger in everything that you've done. Even if you go onto his profile page, he's done television and comedy and horrors and he's just amazing. I mean, we'll get him on the show one night. We'll kind of bring him out here and kind of discuss what he's doing and so forth. But it was a surprising death. But with every episode, we'll never know who's going to make it out of there. It's always sitting at the edge of your seat, saying, "Okay, who's going to go? Who's going to die? Who's going to happen?" So for the fact that a major character like that went, I wasn't surprised. But
we haven't seen that in a while in both shows.
Yeah,
we haven't seen that in a while. Which character did you start off this season being about that has really grown on you this season on Fear the Walking Dead?
I have to give my hands on two young ladies, on Charlie and Dakota.
Yeah, Zoe Colletti and Alexa.
How much they've grown. Let's just put that out there. But I have to go on their character. I think Charlie is amazing. I think she's a smart young woman. It looks like she received full redemption from killing Nick a couple of seasons ago, which I don't know if somebody would kill you. I don't know if I would have the heart to forgive them,
Yeah. But Alicia, I mean, they dedicated a whole episode to those two.
Yeah, that was. I thought they were great too. I like to see a little bit more of Dwight. I mean, he was one of my favorite characters when he first came on Fear. He needs to do a little bit better. Him and Sherry, their romance they built up so much to kind of get them together that I don't know why she hasn't just either.
But I'm glad he let go. He's letting go. He's like, if she's going to come back, it has to be when she's ready. If she's not, she's not.
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
I like that part, and I
And
love
he
the
wasn't with her for
bond.
a long time either. Yeah,
I love the bond between Dwight and Maggie Grace,
yeah,
Al.
yeah. They're great. And for a moment there, I thought they were going to actually pair them off, especially when they had that story arc in the tower in the building when they were together, and that was a great episode with the two of them together when they kind of outshined and the way they faked their deaths and all that. I really thought that they were going to bring them as a couple together, but Al is
No,
still hung up on that. What's her name? Isabel? Is that her
Isabel,
name?
Isabel,
Isabel. Yeah.
Isabel. Yeah.
So and that was a great scene at the end of this episode when she saw the CRM pilot and she had to find out whether it was her. And then when she pulled up the mask and you saw that sign of relief that it wasn't Isabel, how happy she was that, okay, good, it's not her. So it kind of gives her a glimmer of hope that Isabel is still alive. So that was a great storyline too. Everybody's kind of been doing, everyone's been really impressing. And I love Mo Collins calling Morgan Momo. That's hysterical. I wonder where she came up with that. Like whether she wrote that herself or whether that was something that, Michael Satrazemis and Albert said, you know what, let's just write that in there and kind of see what it goes. But because, Mo Collins is such a comedic actress, and to see her in the role like that is just great. It's
She's
just
amazing. Let me ask you a very broad Walking Dead universe question. Why is Scott Gimple really always throwing the CRM in Fear the Walking Dead? Why fear? I mean,
well,
I don't really see why fear.
yeah. Well, right now, what we notice is that with the crossover from Morgan and Dwight to Fear, the universe now is time linked at the same time. So it's a very good. I could see him throwing it out there because it's going on at the same time that a World Beyond and The Walking Dead is going on. So yes, that's why they're it's going to build up to something else because the CRM, if you notice, has their finger in everything that's going on. Even in yesterday's episode, the CRM was again present when they found the maps inside
Yeah,
of.
that's what I mean. They keep
Yeah,
throwing them back. And Al
yeah,
yesterday, she set out on a mission to find Isabel to warn her. Now, do you think that even the CRM and all their capabilities, you think they have access to nuclear weapons that if the theory is correct, Teddy does, but they
yeah,
don't? I mean, if the CRM finds out, maybe that's what they're looking for. Maybe they know that they were given information that the nuclear weapons are vulnerable, and
right,
somebody out there could have
right.
the capability of launching them and literally blowing up the world.
Now remember, we also don't know whether the CRM is the one that has the nuclear bombs as well.
No, we don't. We
They
don't know
could
if
have been
they do.
stolen. Remember, they were stolen. The key was founded by the bounty hunter that was looking for him. So when the season started, the key was already a major factor.
Yeah.
And the bounty hunter, what was the bounty hunter's name?
Oh, shoot, I forgot too. Khaleesi should remember.
Yeah.
I forgot, but that
And
just
Tony
brings up a
Post.
whole. It just brings up a whole range of questions. I was asking myself, why does the CRM keep coming back to Fear? Why? We're going to find out why.
Right, right,
Eventually, I believe in season 11 of The Walking Dead, when that starts, we've heard rumors from earlier this year and late last year that something is going to happen that's going to lead Daryl and the rest of them to go off in search of Rick. So I don't know if
right,
that's going to be CRM or some other things, but they're going to go off and splinter from the Commonwealth because they're going to get a hint that Rick might be alive. And
right,
Saz, of course, Saz, his name was Emile LaRue,
right.
the bounty
Played
hunter.
by Demetrius Gross,
Yes.
great actor as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He was great. And it's fascinating, like I said, how each one of these episodes just keeps getting better and better. I loved how they gave Wes a backstory
Right,
yesterday. We got to see his brother. His brother was totally brainwashed. Alicia is just a flat ass. I mean, she's just a badass.
yeah.
I mean, don't mess with her. And
No,
why they would
she's
leave
her
her.
mother's daughter.
Yeah. And they left her in a room alone with a whole bunch of sharp objects. That's not
Yeah,
very smart.
what do you like? Like, come on.
That's not
It's
very smart. And the
like,
guy's like, you can make this very easy. Get on the. I'm like, she was holding. They left her with knives and
yeah,
embalming equipment. Yeah, I knew that guy was dead very soon after she
yeah,
approached.
that was not smart on their end as well. But again, they don't they underestimate her, and that's the great thing about her, because they see her as this damaged girl, but little do we know how much she's been through, and how she lost her whole family, and this family is her new family now, and she's going to do whatever she can to protect them. She took Charlie on as a sister, and Morgan is kind of like a father to her, and Al and June are like sisters.
Yeah,
this is her new family, and she's going to protect them as much as she can. Which is a great thing. So, and then we all know that the Walking Dead is going to be in August this year. It's not
yeah.
going to start in October.
August 22nd, I believe, is
Right.
when it
It's going to be an elongated season, so it's going to be great for us too. And I know this is off topic a little bit, and we talked about this, but Comic-Con is actually going to be happening in October this year in New York, October 7th through the 10th. As far as I know, it's not going to be virtual. They're going to open up they're going to raise the bands and try to get the panels on and so forth. And the San Diego Comic-Con, which technically was supposed to be going on this month, is now pushed to December. So they will both be on. But it is the first time that New York Comic-Con will be on before San Diego, which is kind of weird.
That is
so
weird.
We'll kind of see how that's going to differ and so forth. But they'll probably have their protocols in, and it's probably going to be about 25 to 30% occupancy as opposed to what it was last year. But it's going to still be a lot of fun. I think it needs to happen.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun. And sticking with Fear. Now, we got to see the main characters that were involved with Virginia, and that included Strand. Of course, Morgan is going to be in every episode. He's the star of the show. But like I said, we did not see a lot of Alicia. Do you think now the story is going to shift to the other characters, like Al, Alicia?
Yeah.
You think Alicia is going to stay with Teddy for a while before she escapes or gets rescued?
Yeah, he's going to hold on to her for a little bit. He's very intrigued by her, and obviously that he knows who she is because he called her by her name.
They've been monitoring them for a long time.
Right. Yeah, I think the two of them are going to spend a lot of time together. I think she's going to probably be the hero of the arc that we're kind of seeing right now, because he's going to be so invested in her in a way. And now here's the story. Will we kind of see Alicia humanizing and liking Teddy, or is she just going to stick to him just being a complete psychopath? Like, is she going to justify the reason why he wants to do what he wants to do? To start the world all over again.
I think it would be a very interesting plot point to where this girl, who totally thinks right now that Teddy's a complete psycho, and he does seem like he's completely crazy, that after spending time with him, he actually gets to convince her. And she's caught between Morgan and their group, and she starts actually kind of believing Teddy and his group. And that will put her in a dilemma, and that will be a great continuation of her arc as a character. Because right now, we've seen her. She started off Fear the Walking Dead. She was like a whiny teen, my brother ruined my life, and to where she is now. But you can't just keep her there. You got to keep the character progressing. You got to keep the character growing. And I think this would be a great opportunity to take Alicia and put her in a bind where she has to choose Morgan and them if she really does start believing Teddy and his way of thinking, because her arc, it has to go somewhere. I think it's gone through the normal arc, but you always got to keep a character moving. You can't keep them stagnant.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you.
You know, or else they're just going to lose interest and fans are just going to grow tired of that.
Yeah, they're going to be like, oh, they're repeating the same storylines over and over again. And I think that's the reason why what I said earlier before is that they ended Virginia's storyline, because it's like, we don't want her to be redeemed. There's no reason why she needs to, she's evil. That's done. Let's get away with it. That's dead. She's evil. She's done a lot of bad things. Let's just get her over with. Send her with the governor. You can't redeem the governor.
No.
Negan, you can redeem him because there was a lot of storylines and a lot of characters that relate. Like with Carl and with Maggie. They had to be stories. But Virginia to me was just like, okay, this girl, she's got to go. And plus Dakota, I think is going to come. She's going to blossom on her own as a major character. I think she's going to be. Yeah, I think she's going to have a lot of story coming up soon. There's a lot of things going on in her head that she was part of being in Virginia's group that we're going to kind of get to find out as the story progresses with her.
And I think as this season goes on, I think Dakota's role in really helping, because she needs something to redeem herself for
Right.
what she did. And I
Yeah.
think she'll probably get the opportunity as the season progresses. Maybe she's going to be the one that saves Alicia or
Right.
saves the group, saves somebody, but she right now, as you notice, since Virginia has died, the little bits that we've seen of her, it's like this big weight has been lifted off her shoulders.
Right.
She's a different person now. She's like,
Right.
I can start living now.
Right.
The person that I hate, that's been holding me down, is gone. I can
Right.
be myself now and actually help and contribute and not have to be on guard and be a killer, because her whole focus has shifted, her whole attitude has shifted. So I think Zoe Colletti, who plays Dakota, as this continues, is going to become a big factor, and she is going to end up earning everyone's redemption. Even June, we know, does not blame her for John. She
Right.
blamed Virginia,
Right.
even though Dakota was the one that pulled the trigger. Now, how do you see Jenna Elfman, who plays June? Do you see that she's just going to take a back seat for the rest of this season?
No, not at all. I think that scene at the end of the prior episode when she put on John's hat, and I think we talked about this off camera, and she walks off. I think that shows the audience that this is a completely different June that we're looking at right now. She's not. She's still a nurse, and she's still human, but there's a rough edge to her. And we also haven't seen any scenes between her and Zoe Colletti yet. So I'm very
No.
curious to see how they're going to interact, knowing this is what happened. Because remember, we saw these scenes earlier in the season when we first saw that episode with Alicia and Charlie when they were stuck in that house during the
The storm,
hurricane.
yeah.
Yeah, that was great too. So I want an episode where that happens with Dakota and June, because there has to be that has to be talked out. There has to be a way that Dakota has to apologize and June has to forgive her. And I think that's going to be an episode that the two actresses are going to really kind of work hard on, and it's going to bring a lot of tears, I think, to a lot of fans once that happens. Because June is a wonderful lady. She's great, but she's also a badass.
Yeah.
The women on this episode, we gotta tip the hat off to the women in this episode. They are tough women in this season. They're all amazing. From Luciana, which we saw from season 3, and from Al, and from Sarah, and Alicia. I mean, these are tough girls.
Badasses, yeah.
Definitely kick our ass if we were in the pilot.
Absolutely.
You know what? Hey, that's it and so forth. And that's what I think it makes it, the show so great, that they're enforcing and they're empowering these women to be leaders. And that's one thing about Fear that I always loved, because the protagonist was always Andrew Lincoln from Walking Dead, but from Fear the Walking Dead, it was always Kim Dickens, who played Madison, that she was our fear. She was our star, our strong woman. And I think the show has kept a strong, positive female force since that first episode up until now. And they're going to, which is great.
Yeah. Now, as far as Victor Strand, I'm so glad that the nice, let's save everybody, Victor Strand is gone. And we have somebody who is not bad, but can sort of be himself. And I like that he's running Lawton, okay? He did do the right thing. He did turn on Virginia. I do believe that a lot of that was pure selfishness. He knew that her time was not long, and he saw there was going to be a vacuum, and he wanted to be the one to fill that vacuum. So he executed his plan perfectly. Obviously, if this nuclear theory is correct, we're going to see Sherry's group, we're going to see the Lawton group, we're going to see Morgan's group obviously come together to fight this threat to their existence. But beyond that, since Strand was so crucial in the first half of season 6, I think he's sort of going to take kind of a back seat to the latter half.
Well, yeah, he has to make sure that the people that Virginia left behind are protected because
Yeah.
he became their leader without him wanting to be their leader. I think he feels that he needs to step up and protect because remember when Virginia died, she left a group of people that were still
Yeah.
there. There were settlers and farmers and librarians and there were people that build a community, and that needs to also thrive as well. He just can't turn around and say, you know what, you guys are on your own. I'm gonna go there. And I like that Victor kind of shows a little responsibility because from the time he got on the show, he was always about himself
Yeah.
and self-centered and just kind of like blasé about everything. And I love the little chemistry between him and Ruben Blades, who was just, I mean, he's amazing, this man. Daniel can't do wrong by me. Anything that Daniel does is I always kind of hold my breath.
I'm so glad they gave him
gonna
his
do?
own episode last week,
Yeah,
and I felt so bad for the character of Daniel because Ruben is amazing in portraying
yeah,
Daniel when he was breaking down as he was getting on that horse. Because he was leaving because he didn't feel he's safe, not for himself, but
right.
for the people around him.
Everybody else, yeah.
I mean, I mean, Ruben Blades is just phenomenal as
Yeah,
Daniel. And this guy literally has 9 lives. He's been shot in the
yeah,
face.
yeah,
He survived a
yeah.
fire. I like
Found skid mark, which I was very happy they found skid mark for him
Skid
too.
Rock.
So
Yeah.
we got skid mark back, which is great.
And
And it's quick. And do we know who Grace's baby daddy is?
no, no, we don't. I don't think so. Yeah.
Storyline right there somewhere.
Yeah. No, no, I don't think we do. But I mean, just that episode last week and Daniel's arc, I think has just been great. Not just in not this season, but since the beginning of this show. I think
Yeah,
Ruben Blades, uh, when the show was going through some really rough patches with the story, he's the one that really kind of kept it afloat
yeah.
enough for them to
He,
get to
he
this point.
provided the humor and the humanity that we have in the character. My favorite episode of his, I think it's going to go back to the first season finale when he lets the walkers out of the school, remember? And
Yeah.
he's kind of casually walking towards the mill, smoking the cigarette, and the officers are like, "Hey, what's going on, old man? You better stop or I'll shoot." And he goes, "You need to save your bullets because you're gonna need them." And then all of a sudden, like the camera cuts back and you see those walkers. That to me, I was like, yes, this is somebody that's gonna be a force to reckon with. Because he used that. That was my favorite scene of him till now. That's just the best part of like when he kind of comes in. That was a great shot.
So we know it with Fear the Walking Dead, starting with season 4. They cleaned house. They brought in new showrunners. Michael Satrazemis became an executive producer. They introduced us to a whole new cast. Uh, do you think that they were just building this slowly? Because we know how the Walking Dead universe likes to do the slow burn, so we
Right.
can really become attached to these characters. Do you think they had what's going on now in season 6 in mind when they were introducing us these characters in season 4? Or it's just something that built and, we got to know them and they got to season 5 and they're like, okay, what are we going to do for season 6? And it
Right.
all just clicked together? Or do you think they had a master plan from the beginning?
Well, I think they had some kind of an idea to revamp the show because while season 4 of The Walking Dead, I'm sorry, of Fear the Walking Dead was airing, that was the height of Walking Dead, which I think
Yeah,
was season 5 or 6.
yeah,
And they just wanted to make sure that the shows were getting an equal amount of viewership. I think that's why they made the show a little more grimmer, a little more darker. Then they kind of put Lenny James over there to kind of take a character that was from the first episode of Walking Dead and bring him onto Fear. I think what the producers were doing, and I think it worked very well, was they want to bring the audience from Walking Dead over to Fear. And I think that's what they did with season 4. They kind of, I don't want to say clean house, but they brought in more characters that are going to be able to bring in more diversity to the show. And also the fact that they time jumped at the same time, that also made it important because when Fear the Walking Dead was on the first couple of seasons, Walking Dead was already years into the apocalypse.
yeah.
And I think it was kind of like, and I liked the beginning episodes of Fear. I liked seeing the beginning and how it started and how the civilization fell apart and people didn't know what was going on. Because remember, when Walking Dead started, we went right from the shooting, bam, 5 weeks into it, the world was done already.
Yeah.
We're like, and I particularly like watching zombie movies and zombie shows where the chaos is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Me too. That's why I like Black Summer so much.
Exactly. That's why I love Dead Set.
Yeah.
I loved watching the world fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think happened in Fear. But I think a lot of fans that were so used to The Walking Dead and the storyline and the violence and the great shots with the walkers in the cities that they kind of let Fear kind of surpass a little bit. And that's why I don't think it's getting what it deserved the first 3 seasons. I loved the first 3 seasons. I thought they were great, the building, the build-up, and the story characters and so forth. And we got to see like little glimpses of the world falling apart when the crew got to the hotel in Mexico and then they ended up in the military, and then they went to
that's where we met the Ottos, Troy Otto. Yeah.
I loved that was great. That was a great storyline, but we needed to see that.
Yeah.
And then once we got that and we saw that, then they're like, okay, let's bring the universes together and blend them. And I think once Lenny James crossed over and Austin Emilio crossed over, it's like, okay, now they're in the same world. Now they can kind of take Fear and kind of do what they want to do with it.
Yeah, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, especially now more than ever. Right now, Fear is a better show than The Walking Dead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those 6 episodes of Walking Dead that we saw, the Anthology series, honestly, guys, and don't hate me, fans, for saying this, I could have lived without them.
Except for that Morgan one. That was really good.
The Morgan one, no, I like the
Not Morgan, sorry, Negan. The Negan one.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
That last episode, that had to have been told because we needed to see where he started from. But the Carol and Daryl and
it's
they're friends. It's like they're gonna love each other till the end of time, and they're gonna be mad at each other.
They're gonna fight and they're gonna make up and
it's just like. But that Negan story had to have been told, and Hillary Burton, who played his wife, was great playing Lucille.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just a story, and we got to see Lindsay Register again, which is nice.
That was so cool.
Yeah, that episode, that was a great episode. They could have just done that, and we're like, okay, I'm happy with it.
I loved how they ended it as Negan goes back to Alexandria. He looks at Carol, you can send somebody from my staff, and he just gives Maggie that sly smile. He's like, listen, if you're going to take me out, let's do it. Do what you got to do, but I'm not dying out there in the woods.
Right.
And
he also loves Judith. He's grown a bond with Judith right there, and he loves oh my God, Lydia.
Yeah.
So he's building this relationship with these young girls as like he's sort of see them as daughter father figure. So yeah, he's going to be I mean, again, Jeffrey D. Morgan, like we talked about this before, I didn't like him the first season he came on the show. He redeemed in my heart as time went on because there was stuff that he did that was relatable. Like he got it. He knew what was going on.
And you could see in Daryl's expressions, but he's afraid because he knows what Negan has done. I think Daryl is really, really kind of is pulling for Negan. Even though he won't say it because he knows, especially to Maggie, who, Negan killed her husband. But you could tell by his remarks, nothing's been decided yet, trying to play both sides of the fence, knowing that, if it wasn't for Negan, the Whisperers would have probably wiped them out if it wasn't for his help. So it puts him in a kind of a tough spot. Now, I'm going to give you how I think the scheduling is going to work out between 3 shows. After the Fear the Walking Dead ends, okay, we're going to get a little hiatus from all the Walking Dead shows. August 22nd, we're getting the beginning of The Walking Dead. Now, what I think is going to happen, it's going to be 12 episodes, right? 12 episodes, and then another 12. I think we're going to get 6 episodes at the end of August that will take us into the beginning of October. Then, I think in October, we are going to get World Beyond.
Right, where Comic-Con starts.
Yeah, we're going to get World Beyond. I think we're going to get all 10 episodes in a row. Okay? And then we're going to see the last 6 episodes of The Walking Dead. And then a year from now, next summer, is when we're going to see season 7 of Fear the Walking Dead.
Yes.
I think that's a perfect way to keep, the universe kind of year round with all 3 different shows.
And I think what'll happen is if they're projecting for August 22nd for Walking Dead to start, that's probably going to put the first 6 episodes right at the weekend where Comic-Con starts, October 7th.
Yeah.
So I think that episode, the last finale, like the mid-season finale, will probably air that Sunday that Comic-Con, and so I'm sure the cast will be in New York as well.
Yeah.
So that's where I have a feeling. And then I think World Beyond will premiere right after that, like they did that last year as well.
So, do you think because the CRM is so prominent in Fear the Walking Dead as well as World Beyond, do you think we're going to get any kind of crossover, even though they're in completely different parts of the country? World Beyond is in upstate New York, Fear is in Texas. Do you think we might get any kind of crossover?
Oh, absolutely. And remember, the CRM has quarters in 3 parts of the country.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they're not, remember, we're not seeing one CRM. We're not seeing one branch. They're spread all over the country. So they definitely have their fingers in Texas. They definitely have their fingers up in Virginia where we are. They're everywhere. I mean, they're everywhere.
You think we're going to see the character of Isabel again on any of the shows?
That's a good question.
Sydney Lemon, right?
Yeah, Sydney Lemon. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I'd like for her to kind of come on as like a finale or like a cliffhanger between her and Maggie Grace's character. She might end up being
that was her voice earlier this season, where with the beer on the rooftop, she was in the credits.
Right, so she's alive. So as far as we know, she's somewhere. But that's going to be a great story to kind of keep us in suspense, where will Al find her love or something and so forth. So yeah,
it's just we don't know. See. We gotta. I'm sure Gimple has a master plan for all 3 shows moving forward.
I know. Michael Satrazemis is very hush hush about that, so it's not like we can ask him.
Yeah. Nobody. I mean, it's very tight-lipped over there. You're not going to get anything. Moving beyond the universe in the last few minutes, I'm really looking forward to this Tales anthology where they can go anywhere and do anything. What is the one thing you want to see in an episode anthology of the Walking Dead universe? There's so many. We've got Glenn. It could go anywhere. Throughout over a decade now, there have been so many loose ends. Not loose ends, but
I'd like to find out what happened to Heath.
Well, we won't know, but Heath very well might come back in the movies. Yeah,
I'd like to find out what's going on with Jadis and what's going on with Rick, because she's another one, a great character that just kind of took off. I'd like to see, and what, this is going to sound weird, I would like to see some relationships building with characters, because even though the world is not what it was, humanity still needs to love, feel love. I'd like to see some relationships blossom.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a love interest for Aaron, and I'd love to see somebody come into Carol's life, and I can't wait until oh my God, Lauren Ridloff comes back.
Connie
comes back with Daryl. I really want to do that because I want to see some. I want to see some romance.
Yeah.
I want to see the characters kind of build in their humanity. I mean, now that they build Rick and Michonne, but now they're gone. So I kind of feel like soap opera's biggest couple is gone.
Yeah.
So we need something to come on the show to kind of give us a little bit of hope and humanity while they're still dealing with the walkers and the zombies and so forth.
Yeah.
So I want to see a little romance. I want to see characters build more together.
To wrap up, because we're almost out of time, going back to Fear, we only have, this was episode 11, so we only have like 5 episodes left. Do you think, we already lost John Dory, are we going to lose another major character before this season's over?
I think we're going to lose a minor character. I don't think a major character is on the downfall.
Do you think, and this I hope this does, but do you think, right now I think Charlie played by Alexa Nisenson, is vulnerable. Do you
Yeah.
think they might?
No, I think I think the show kind of shocked us when they took Tara off the plate, and when they also killed Enid.
Yeah.
So no, I think they're going to keep her around. I think the showrunners know how great Alexa is and how great they can take her storyline.
And
I
also, it really brings in a younger audience as well.
Right, exactly, and we can also brings in younger girls, a younger female audience, which is important because, again, going back to earlier, it's important for that show to feel that women are empowered, and I think that's one of the things that'll keep them. So I don't know who'll go. I don't mind seeing Sherry going. I'll be honest with you. That group to me I think they're going to be expendable when the show kind of gets to the climax.
Yeah, they've been given the name from the media as the Rejects, Virginia's Rejects.
Yeah, so I don't know whether I don't see anybody really thriving from that group to kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to join and so forth. So we'll get to see what happens. Part of the show is not knowing where, like when Garrett Dillahunt, and that was a shock to me. That was like
I did not see that coming.
Right. And that was kind of like, oh my God, I can't see that. That was like the episode with the stakes, with the heads on the spikes. Yeah. It's like, oh my God.
Well, but, you got to do something with Sherry. You brought back Christine Evangelista. You can't just bring her back and have her be this, I don't know, I don't want to be with you, Dwight. I'm not ready. I don't belong here. She's all messed up. She doesn't know what to do right now, okay? Right. She obviously was using Virginia as a surrogate for what Negan did to her. Now Virginia's dead, and she's just completely lost. So I'm assuming the writers, the production, they brought Christine Evangelista back, who plays Sherry, for a purpose, a role. Right.
For something bigger than what they are.
Just right now, I don't see what that is.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. It's they have to do something. Yeah, exactly. They have to bring her together. They're either going to separate her with Dwight, or they're just going to kind of...
I really don't see her and Dwight getting back together.
Me either.
They didn't get back together in the comics after that whole thing. And then we know Rick killed Dwight because Dwight blamed Rick. Rick actually killed Sherry. Dwight blamed Rick, and then Rick had to kill Dwight in the Commonwealth because Dwight was about to start an uprising. That's how it played out in the comic books.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you bring back Christine Evangelista, you must have a plan for her.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't just bring her back just so she can reunite with Dwight just for one episode.
Right.
And then have them go their separate ways.
Right. Yeah.
So there's still a lot to see. The showrunners have said that the rest of the season was going to be dark. Yeah, you expect words like that, and sometimes you're disappointed. But I got to say, it is a very dark show right now. They are not disappointing.
Yeah.
In terms of story, characters, gore, guts, walkers, they're giving us a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's not. I said that it's definitely not disappointing.
No.
Definitely not disappointing.
No, it's going to go strong, and I'm very happy for them. I'm very happy that Fear, it's taken 6 seasons, and they've been on and off. There have been some great seasons. There have been some off moments. But there has not been a single episode in 11 episodes so far in season 6 that has been a bad or boring episode. So I am very, very excited to see what the remaining 5 episodes have to offer. Since the last time we've been on, obviously we've seen a lot of movies. What horror movie would you give our viewers a recommendation to watch right now?
Well, it's funny because I watched one the other day called Ghosts of War. It's got Brendan Thwaites, Billy Zane, Kyle Gallner. It's a great film about these American soldiers that are left to patrol a mansion during World War II, and they find out that the mansion is possessed by a family of ghosts that were killed by Nazis. Excellent film, very bloody, very violent. It's got a great little twist in the end that kind of, I think you and I talked about, that will people go, or so forth. Yeah. Excellent. I've been watching the series movie called The Mortuary Collection.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Clancy Brown plays a mortuary that has a house and a young girl comes in, and it kind of tells a story of how people died. But it's really good. It builds up there. Again, Clancy Brown is another great actor too. His character actor has been around a long time. The Resort is another film that I saw, which stars two American couples hear about a folklore about this haunted resort in an island in Hawaii, and they somehow pay a helicopter pilot, take them over, and they get stranded there, and they end up meeting the ghost of the girl with a half face. Short film, pretty good, but it goes right from the beginning to the middle to the end. Also very good. We talked about The Beach House.
Yeah.
Again, slow, but I'm a huge fan of Jake Weber, so he was in there as well too. Pretty excellent film. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've been just kind of catching up on horror films. I know that there's a great film on Netflix that you talked about with Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah, Things Heard and Seen. That we did I just want to say, guys, we did a whole article on that last week on how it split the internet. I saw the movie this past weekend, and I absolutely loved it. If you have Netflix, check out Things Heard and Seen. It's really an amazing movie. It does star Amanda Seyfried. It actually has a nice cast. They all did an amazing job. So I definitely recommend you guys, if you're looking for something to watch on movie night, go ahead and check that out. Anyway, we are out of time. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Marko, thank you so much for being our guest as our executive producer. We always love to hear your input on horror and everything beyond. We'll be back. Like I said, guys, we had to reschedule Xander Berkeley. He will not be with us tomorrow. We'll let you know as soon as we get a new date. But definitely keep your ears open for that. Go to our website, deadtalklive.com. If you want to be a part of our live audience, you can watch us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter, Monday through Friday, every night, around between 9:30 and 10 p.m. Eastern is when we usually start. Any last thoughts you want to share before we go?
No, just thank you again for having me on. Always a lot of fun. You and I can sit and talk about horror movies all day. There's no time in the day.
We have been all our lives.
So, yeah, we have all our lives. So hopefully we'll do this again. And I just look forward to a lot of guests coming up, and we're all working here very hard to bring you the best entertainment possible. And try to go to Comic-Con if you're in the East Coast. It's going to be something you'll never regret, because I've been to it a couple of times. It's amazing. Hopefully we'll get to go. I got my fingers crossed. And besides that, guys, just stay walking and stay safe out there, please.
That's right. And there you heard it from Marko. Until tomorrow, guys, stay walking. Good night.
Good night.